In this video, we will demonstrate how to create an autonomous op mode that causes a robot to move forward or move backward. Before creating the op mode, we need to inform the robot controller Android device that it has two motors available. Use the information shown here to create and activate a config file. If you're not familiar with setting up a config file, see the video about configuring your robot. Start by creating a new op mode and giving it a name. We'll call it Auto Move. Because we are creating an autonomous op mode, select Autonomous from the drop-down at the top. This will ensure that the op mode appears in the correct list on the driver station. Note also that since the autonomous period of the first Tech Challenge competition is 30 seconds long, autonomous op modes automatically contain a 30-second timer. If the code has not completed after 30 seconds, the op mode will stop. Now we need to set up our motors. Because the motors are on the left and right side of the robot, they are facing in opposite directions. Running the two motors in the same direction will cause one of them to rotate forward and the other backwards, causing the robot to spin in place. Therefore, we need to reverse one of the motors in our code. Select Actuators, DC Motor, and drag the Set Motor 1 Direction block into the initialization section of the code. Ensure the direction type is set to reverse. Because the direction of motor 2 will default to forward, we don't need to set its direction. Now that we have set up the motors, we can create the code that will be executed when the run button is pressed. There are two kinds of motor blocks. One kind controls a single motor, while the blocks in the dual menu allow us to control a pair of motors. Dual will only appear if your robot controller is configured for two motors. If possible, you should always use the dual menu, because the dual blocks are more efficient than using two single blocks. To tell the robot to move forward, we set both motors to half power by setting the power values to 0.5. Click and drag the dual Set Power to 1 block into the Run Blocks area and edit the power to 0.5. We want the robot to move forward for 2 seconds. Select Linear Op Mode and click and drag a sleep block underneath the Set Motor Power. With a default value of 1000, the op mode will pause for 1000 milliseconds or 1 second. Let's change it to 2000 milliseconds or 2 seconds. The op mode will sleep for 2 seconds, but the motors will continue to run during that period. Now we want the robot to stop, so we set the power value of both motors to 0. Because this is an autonomous op mode, we don't need the while loop that is available for creating teleop code, so we'll go ahead and delete it. Now we can save and run the op mode. The robot should move forward for 2 seconds and then stop. Finally, let's make the robot move backwards. To make the robot move backwards for 2 seconds, we can simply change both of the power values to -0.5 and leave the sleep block set to 2000 milliseconds. Save the op mode and run it. The robot should move backwards for 2 seconds. Try experimenting with different power values to see their effects on the movement of your robot.